After the game, you just kind of laid out the week, how it was going to look for you guys. I'm just curious how it's gone as you guys get prepared for Sunday.
It's going good. This was the opportunity to give them some extra rest. So we played on Monday.
Yep.
Played on Monday, gave them Tuesday off for practice Wednesday, gave them yesterday off, and then we'll start our prep for Florida today. And we'll get ready for that. So today, and then we practice tomorrow, travel, get up there, and then get ready.
Just what you've seen from Florida, if you could kind of assess what you've seen. Obviously, it's a somewhat new team from last year, but so many new guys, or same guys, different roles, but just your thoughts.
I think that's the biggest thing is like all these teams this year. You have some retention, but then also you have so much new. And, they lost 3 premier guards to the NBA. And they got 2 premier guards out the portal. And I think they're still this new in the season. Everybody's still getting to learn each other. But the one thing from them that you see is consistent is just their speed at which they play, their pace, playing in transition, their aggressiveness on the boards, both offensively and defensively, and then just their physicality and their points in the paint, which is a big part of what they do.
Just the challenges that facing Thomas Howell with what he can do, and he obviously looks he's continuing from end of last season. But
he is, and it's a testament to him and his work and his development, where he's gone from a forward to a perimeter player this year. And they're playing him primarily at the 3, and it's made him even bigger, which is shocking to say. But when you put him and Condon and Chinaloo out there, they have great size. So just, him and his development and the praise he's been getting is definitely he's earned it from his play and what he's been able to do these first couple of games. So, he presents a lot of challenges just because of his size and how they use him. But it's our job to come up with a game plan to how to stop him.
You've talked about, you said after the game too, how could your guys not be excited? Of course they're going to be. A lot of veterans that have played against big teams. What do you think your team's approach will be on Sunday as they get ready, understanding who they're playing, but also maybe not making it too big?
Exactly. I think that's the biggest thing, is that we play to a certain standard and we don't play to an opponent. So it doesn't matter if it's Florida or if it's Jacksonville. I think the things that we believe and the things that we feel is true in our program and what we're building and developing here should stay consistent no matter what. But I'm also not going to sit here and be Joe Coach and not think there's any extra emotion into the game against Florida, and understanding it's an in-state rival and defending national champions. So part of me and my staff's job this week is just trying to keep it as normal and as consistent as possible, to where it's just another game in that sense, but also understanding that there is going to be some emotion tied into the game because it is our first opportunity against another high major conference team on national TV. So understanding that's going to be a part of it as well.
Coach, how difficult is it, just from coaching staff's vantage point, of having that balance between between preaching to your team, like, hey, this is a normal game, and also, but at the same time, like, this is reigning national champions, top 10 team. Just how do you go about, I guess, kind of striking that balance?
Well, I think it's just a step up in competition, and a step up in competition in the sense of just the size, the athleticism, the discipline and attention to detail they play with. So you really have to play with the same level or exceed it if you want a chance to compete in the game. And so getting them to understand that and playing to what we preach and what we practice every day, I think is the biggest part of the game. And if we're able to do that, then we'll be able to be competitive and hopefully give yourself a chance to win at the end.
And then your team, I think, is 3rd or 4th nationally in team assists per game. Just how pleased have you been with the total ball movement so far?
I've been very pleased. It's the one thing that you always worry about as a coach, when especially assembling a new team. And you can talk about it, you can practice it, you can drill it, you can do whatever, but you don't know until you play games. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that we have carried over from the summer and the fall, is just going from good to great. Be giving up yourself to find someone else who may have a better shot at being okay with it, and then celebrating each other's success is a big part of it as well.
Coach, you talked about how defensively you might not be where you want to be right now,
right.
But offensively you have. What challenges does Florida present offensively that might cause you defensive trouble?
I think the one thing you watch them on film, and it's always true when you play really good teams, is their pace on film is very fast. So that means in person it's even faster with the ability, their speed they cut with, their ability to go from one action to the next action. So it's really going to put a lot of pressure on our communication and our talk. And it's one of the things that I've been harping on and preaching on that has to get better. Is we have to do a better job of communicating on the defensive end. And the pace they play with and some of the stuff they run, you have to really communicate at a high level if you want a chance to stop them and slow them down. So that's the one thing. And then, of course, just their offensive rebound. I think they're getting 23 a game, offensive rebounds and 21 second chance points. It's a big key of why they are who they are. So stepping up to that fight and being able to compete, and 5 guys rebounding is a big part of it.
You've also been playing a lot with your depth recently.
Yeah.
Just how important are they going to be in this game, and how many bodies you might actually need because of the physicality?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has to be ready. I think, like you said, because of the physicality, because of the pace of the game's going to be played at, because we want to play fast and we're going to still try to do what we do. We're not stopping what's made us good and who we think we are. We're going to fight for that. So just coming in and everybody's ability to come in and contribute right away is going to be big. Now, you don't know, like these first couple of games, guys that play kind of extended minutes off the bench in their role and maybe cut a little bit shorter or maybe more. You got to wait till you get to the game to see how it's played, but everybody's got to be ready.
And to piggyback on the defensive end as well, just what are some of those areas that you and your staff have noticed that you think kind of need a little fine-tuning or just need a little improvement for the rest of the season?
Yeah, one thing, like I talked about, just our communication, our talk, and you can get away with some stuff in some games that you're not able to get away with as you start to grow in the season. So getting them to understand that. Part of that leads to your coverages. So ball screen coverage, part of the lack of communication makes the ball screen coverage bad. So that's one thing. And then just the one thing we always want to do is protect the paint and keep the ball out of the paint. So as much as we can protect the paint and be in rotations and be in our gaps and eliminate some of those driving lanes and penetration gaps, we want to. So those 3 things, I think, as we start to grow and become the team I feel we can be, those will be the things that make a big jump.
Can you talk more about True and just him constantly stealing the ball at the rate that he's going right now?
Yeah.
But high-level guard play across from him on Sunday. Just how do you see him helping the team in that aspect and just leading on the defensive side of the ball?
I think, I've always challenged him, and I've always said this, even watching him, I've known him since he was young. I feel that he can be one of the best defensive guards in the country. Now, I got to get him to fully buy into that too, which is a big part of coaching him. But if he saw himself as that, he can be. With his size, with his athleticism, with his strength, with his ability to switch and guard multiple positions, he can do it. And now my thing is not for him to do it in spurts, but to do it for 40 minutes. When he starts to consistently put it together for 30, 40 minutes or however long he's out there, he's a big part of why our defense will make a big jump and why I think we can be one of the best defensive teams in the country.
What's your message to the team as far as, because you guys play very aggressively defensively, but just how do you, again, strike that balance between playing aggressive at the same time, staying disciplined with your rotations and your coverages? Just how do you message that to your team to kind of have that balance between the two?
You gotta be ahead of the ball. You can't play from behind. And one phrase that we use here is like when the ball moves, you move. So you gotta jump to the ball. And the best defensive teams are ahead of the ball and are on a string. Now, when we're delayed or we're being a little bit lazy and the ball moves and we're still in the same spot and haven't moved, that's where our principles and our discipline falls. And we have to do a much better job of being ahead of the ball. And that's one thing that I really preach, because if we are ahead of the ball with our size, our athleticism, we'll be able to take away a lot of stuff. But right now, we're not there yet. And we'll get there. And I've seen it. And this is just part of our next growth, so we'll get to see against Florida where we are. But that's where we got to get to, where we've got 5 guys playing ahead of the ball.
Jay, the other day you had a few guys got a couple fouls early in the game. Ernest was one of those guys.
Yeah.
Obviously the game went the way it went, but just stressing this in a game like this, obviously Ernest got to be on the floor, foul trouble. Just in particular with Ernest, how's he been doing with fouls, playing with physical without fouling, but also the importance for all your guys to essentially be on the floor?
Well, this Ernest plays like he's a guard sometimes. And he's out there reaching and slapping, and I'm telling Ernest, you're 6'10", they're going to see it. You know, some of this stuff you can't get away with. So I think it's part of just building the discipline, but I also think it comes from we're not ahead of the ball, and we're playing from behind a lot on defense. And when you're playing from behind, it leads to fouls, it leads to breakdowns, it leads to being late in coverages and stuff. And when you're doing that, it tends to get a lot of people in foul trouble. Because someone's now trying to over-help or over-rotate. That's not supposed to be their job, and it just puts them in a situation of something bad happening. And so getting everybody to play ahead of the ball, and Ernest being a big thing with him being in coverage, ball screen coverage, dribble handoffs, all this other stuff, he's one of the main culprits of playing behind the ball. So just showing them this, teaching it, drilling it, making sure we get to the point where it's something he understands.
Got time for a couple more?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, you touched on their pace of play.
Yeah.
I'm curious about their backcourt. Obviously, both guys can handle it. They're not
Yeah.
shooting it the way they had in the past or would like to, obviously.
Right.
Your guys with True and Trey defensively. I'm just curious your thoughts on those kind of 2-on-2, kind of just how you see it and kind of the intriguing both ends of the floor.
Yeah. I think it's the one thing that is the unknown for both teams. Is the best way to put it, because they have two new guards who are replacing, and like you said, they're really good guards, but they just haven't, and knock on wood, you know, I hope they don't on Sunday, but they just haven't played like you know they can play. Like Boogie Flan, it was one of the best freshman guards in the country last year. Zagan Lee's been an Ivy League Player of the Year caliber player the last couple of years, so you know what they're capable of, and they've showed it in spurts this year. And I feel my guards are just as good. I like Trey and I like Drew and Dante, you know what I mean, in these battles with them. So it's just going to be who can kind of become themselves and stay themselves the most. You know, I like our matchup with our physicality and being able to play downhill and being able to guard and pressure and being who we are. I like the matchup, to be honest with you, because I like my guards.
And then we haven't talked about Malik. He's
Yeah.
got. I'm sure he's looking forward to this one, as
Yeah.
everybody. But just the challenge for him, what you guys need from him. You've talked very highly about what you need from him.
Yeah.
Just kind of his approach going into this one. And
Same thing. You know, I need him to be who he has been and continue to be. I don't need him to play to the moment. I don't need him to be caught up in the emotion of the game, which he will be. They all will be. So we got to keep them as settled as possible, but he just needs to do what he has done. It's, of course, it's going to be some bigger bodies, so you got to adjust a little bit, but what we're asking him to do, we're not going to ask him to do anything different. We're going to ask him to do what he's been done, and it's my job to find the moments and the places and the spots in the game where I think he can be effective, because some stuff that might have worked in these first 3 games may not work against Florida. So it's the ability to move him around the court, put him in different areas to find out where he can be successful.
Coach, you get
Last
to
one.
see Dante and Shelton finally take this massive step up.
Yeah.
But have you seen their game slow down to the point where they're going to be ready to attack where they need to go?
Not yet. Not yet. And, you know, it's 18-year-old kids, first 3 games of college basketball, so it's not there yet. They've done a great job. I talked about it for both of them. They had great summers, great preseason, great fall, and the games are different. You know, the games are different. There's a lot more mental stuff that goes into playing the game than practice. But they both have shown, like Dante showed in the second game, just his ability to get downhill and his response. And I think Shelton showed in the first and the third game, you know, just what he's been able to do in limited minutes. You know, he's been in foul trouble a lot. He hasn't been able to play extended minutes, and he's been able to still have an impact on the game. I think the biggest thing in watching both those guys in this game is just how hard and how long can they.
In the spirit of sportsmanship, ladies and gentlemen, the University of Florida at the Southeastern Conference asks that fans act responsibly and courteously to those around you. Let's afford the student athletes, coaches, officials, and your fellow fans the respect they deserve. Please respect one another while here inside the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena.
Oh, he sent it to me. No, he sent it to me. I didn't. They do it. What is the backup?
Golden basketball, simply scan the QR code on the video to enter for your chance to win.
Lane Kiffin is Florida's primary target. What happens if he says no? Well, he's not going to say. I stopped reading because he's not saying no. They have a fucking deal. It's every fucking song on the planet leads to them having a deal. And that Scott went up there and got a fucking deal. And Lane isn't saying shit because he has a deal. And LSU is moving on because Lane's got a deal. He's just Florida to its credit. It's just being super respectful. Scott's not here. Not going to be here. And he's staying out of the limelight because he's got his guy. And he's not taking a victory walk. He's not telling people blah blah blah. Well, I gotta get my story ready. I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, like, Chip's asking about, is it, like, he's thinking, like, we can't have lunch in February. Before his team plays during the bye week and before his team plays, just that part makes no sense. Even in a world that we don't know about because we don't know because this is all new, right? CFP is new.
All right, Mar, appreciate it. Appreciate everybody else jumping in here on the stream. Again, no teams are out here right now. They did their initial warm-ups, both in the locker rooms. Then they'll come back out here and do their final routine, getting ready for the game. But just appreciate everybody for being here. It's fun getting here early. There wasn't very many people here at all, and just kind of seeing slowly the buzz and from the crowd. Here comes Miami's team right here. They're coming out. Really curious to see how they do today. I think everybody's interested to see what this new team looks like against quality competition, the best teams in the country. You know, 2 for the U, appreciate it. Trenton, appreciate it. It's getting loud in here. Florida just got on the court. But again, I'll keep the audio going until there's arena music. You know, one of the interesting battles that I asked Coach Lucas about, I think it's really important to watch, is the backcourt battle. There's a lot of attention on what goes on in the front court tonight with what Florida has, with what Miami has, but pay real close attention to the backcourt. And like Jay said, he said, I like my guys. So we'll see how the Miami guys do. And I know Trey is eager, to say the least, to face Boogie in this one. I'm going to cut the audio. Appreciate everybody. Again, arena music's on.
There is one team that makes the SEC.